Welcome to Inside Analog Photography Radio Program. I'm your host, Scott Shepard, and of course, the Inside Analog Photography Radio Program is all about traditional process photography. We talk about instant photography. We talk about black and white. We talk about color film. We talk about dry plate, wet plate, you name it, alternate printing processes, everything going on in analog photography. And of course, the Inside Analog Photography Radio Program is brought to you by Fujifilm over at www.fujifilmusa.com/professional, making life more colorful. Our friends at Richard Photolab, www.richardphotolab.com, DR5, www.dr5.com, Iger Studios. Check them out, igerstudios.com. And of course, Upstrap at upstrap-pro.com. Our media partners, www.apug.org, the Analog Photography User Group, the community for analog photography. Our photographic philanthropy partner, George Eastman House International Museum of Photography and Film, www.geh.org. Today on the Inside Analog Photography Radio Program, we're going to have with us Heather Mckay Bowes. Heather is a childhood photographer, loves to take pictures of kids and all things that are frolicking and fun when it comes to childhood. Multiple ages, great stuff, beautiful use of film, and a great gal. Heather, how's it going today?
Good. Thank you, Scott. Great to be talking with you.
Thanks for joining us here on Inside Analog Photo. Great to have you on the program today, and I just wanted to chat with you about yourself, your very cool photography that you're doing, your switch from digital to film, and some of the cool stuff that you're doing. So, Heather, let's talk about yourself. You really specialize in a very cool genre of photography. I guess it would be kids' lifestyle. What would you want to call what you're doing?
I'd like to call it childhood photography. I've used the word portraiture a lot before and then realized I tended to get clients thinking it was more sit and pose, which I don't do as much of, or worrying about what child's going to wear and how everyone's going to look and the family portrait. So, yeah, childhood portraiture, but I think children, families, that's what I tend to photograph. I like my subjects to be relaxed, so when I come visit them, they know that we're not all going to go stand up on the front porch and sit and smile and get that perfect family portrait that we know usually doesn't exist.
Well, it doesn't, and I really think, too, that if you look at the work that you're doing, that you're doing environmental portraits, and it's not really a portrait. Like you said, it's childhood, and you're trying to capture what's going on with a unique perspective as a lifestyle photograph, and not so much, like you said, the posed XYZ studio look.
Correct, yeah. Also, there's the term photojournalistic or documentary. There's a fine line between just snapping away, which when you're shooting some styles or you just shoot, and you try and get it. But I tend to like to wait to bring my subject into the right place and the right time and the right light, and then let them relax and be themselves and kind of wait for the right moments and capture that.
So let's talk about your interest in photography. Did you always have an interest in shooting stuff? Was it when you finally had some kids of your own that was like, I would really like to do childhood work? I mean, tell me about your interest in photography and where this started out at.
Sure. I started out with a father who was an artist. So I think the art and interest in the art and always doing something artistic was always there. And seeing differently, we would notice the light and the sunsets and the way something would look at different times of the day. My father, he drew in oils, ended up going into advertising, but he had a dark room in our attic and would shoot a lot of advertisements. So that probably rubbed off on me a bit, and I did some art here and there. I never majored in art. I never said, okay, I'm going to college to become an art student or photography. But it seemed as though every year or so I'd find my way into a photography class as I got into high school. In our class, I did pottery, I did drawing, I did painting. He kind of persuaded me not to go into the arts. I was very into sports, actually, so I did ski racing. I went into athletic training and thought I would go into that direction, but the arts kept calling me back. And eventually I went to culinary school. So I went to the CIA and studied food, worked in restaurants for a while, but still every year or so I'd be back in the darkroom class and still shooting more landscape work, which I don't do any of now. Just always seem to have a camera and want to photograph. So it was not until my children were born that I was kind of looking through some photographers' works and Googling and up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a child who wouldn't sleep. And I came across Donna Ramsey's work. She is in Newfoundland, and she is a black and white film photographer. And I have to say, she was the first person's work that I saw, and I was just so drawn to. And I thought, wow, like maybe I can do this and not continue to go back to the work that I wasn't so happy with, which was the kitchen work and working in restaurants. So that's when I decided that's what I was going to do.
So mainly for employment prior, you were doing culinary arts, we would put it that way.
Yes, I had studied culinary arts, ended up going into pastries. I was doing wedding cakes and pastries and working in restaurants as a pastry chef.
So are you still a connoisseur of foodie and watching Food Network?
I like Anthony Bourdain. I mean, I wanted the travel. I think that's what attracted me more about the food, was the travel and culture and people. I go back to it and I think of all my favorite classes and all my favorite cookbooks and things that I learned in culinary was more about the culture and the people than it was about the food, which same as photography. That's how I learn about people, is by photographing them and getting to know them and seeing them a little differently than I would without my camera.
Very, very cool. So let's talk about the progression of your camera. So you have this interest and you're done doing fondant and it's time to take pictures. When did you make this leap to say, you know something, I want to do photography for my business, for my passion?
Well, honestly, I kind of jumped right into it. And I remember my first client, they shot 3 rolls of film. And I couldn't sleep for a good 6 days till I got my film back. And it was great. Actually, there's 3 or 4 of those images from that first photo shoot that are my favorites, and I love them. From there, I built the business.
So at that point, you started off with your Nikon SLR, and then how did that translate into, I'm going to go shoot digital now, it's cool?
Oh, I got stuck in the forums, to be honest. Just comparing yourself all the time to what everyone else is doing. And that was just making me, I guess, not really see what I wanted to do. So what I wanted to do was that look I initially saw, say, back to like Donna's work. That film and that real soulful black and white work, which drew me in. And then a year or 2, I had suddenly realized, wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But I was sitting in front of my computer, I was editing, I was worrying more about how I was going to edit the picture than setting it upright and looking at the light when I was actually taking it. And so it just kind of snowballs, I think. If you start to be a little more concerned about what you should be doing or what your clients want to see, instead of doing what is right for you and what brought you there in the first place.
So you started out with film stuff, and then you made this transition into digital.
With the Nikon D70, I guess probably the 1.4, 50, 1.4, and the kit lens. And of course, going from my Nikon film camera, which was great, the negatives were beautiful and everything, and then I went to digital, didn't really know how to process very well, it was all trial and error. I've never taken any Photoshop classes, I've learned on my own, and just wasn't happy with it, and just spent hours and hours editing. And I could never sit and do actions and batch action things, so of course everything took a nice long time. And I just kept trying to make my digital work once I looked like my film work. So I guess it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago where I just ended up selling all my digital gear, because I didn't want to allow myself to chicken out and go back.
So you sold your crutches?
I did. I said, there's no way. I've had the Nikon D70, and then I went Fuji. I really love the Fuji.
Fuji's
digital.
A nice sensor. Very cool. Yep.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. And then just because I shoot natural light, I went to the D3.
I mean, I'm all over film, but if I had to have a digital camera, it would be the D3 or now a D3S. Or something of the sort, because I just know the use that I've used out of it, and it's just so amazing with that to shoot high ISO, natural light. But it's still back to, it doesn't have the look, but I think if you had to shoot digital, I really like. The D3 is very sweet, yes.
I agree, yes. Yeah, I've got some beautiful images from that, so it's a great camera.
But it's not true to your heart, though. I mean, you're really not digital girl.
Right, and then I started finding, oh, well, I've got some time. Maybe I'll just throw a couple mini sessions in here and do some stuff, and I'll just shoot digital. And then it's just back and forth. And for me, I need to pick something and stick with it, and that's how I work best. So people said, well, shoot digital for some and film for the other, and it just wasn't working for me. So at this Jose workshop was the best thing, because I just needed to find a film photographer who was doing it and doing it beautifully and see that it's possible. I'm not crazy. So many people said, you're losing your mind. What do you mean you're going to be so regretful of selling your digital gear? But I'm not. I haven't been yet. So even in the winter, when it's nice and dark.
So this is very cool. So you're at this point now to where you've ditched off your crutches. You're 100% committed to film and analog acquisition, and I think more so than traditional film. You've been playing around with some instant product that I think you're digging, that we should talk about.
Yep.
And how these things, I think, play into the aesthetics of your look and your childhood genre that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm loving, I don't know much about Polaroid as far as which cameras, but I started it and I tried it, and I got on actually Etsy and got myself a couple of Polaroid cameras for about $20. And have a fridge full of Polaroid film.
Really? You spent all your money on film?
I know. Well, the thing is, I love processing my own black and white film. And I just love color. And I feel not so much it's needed, but it's right for the image or what I'm trying to get. So I have this contact, and I haven't picked it up in 3 months, I don't think. For color, traditionally I've been shooting the Fuji film on that. But yeah, I haven't really shot much color lately. Except my Polaroid.
Are you using the contacts at all, or are you shooting just the Nikon, or are you pretty much gone hardcore instant girl?
The Nikon a lot. And for music stuff, the Nikon, of course. I shoot a lot of live music, so I need that to be able to focus. And I have the SX70, which has been a lot of fun. I've just been scanning it. I still have the 35mm Fuji color, which I like. But the contact support thing, yeah, it's looking at me.
Now let's talk about why you have left the contacts as the stepchild on the curb. A reason? Is it too slow? Is the glass too slow? Is it too chunky? I mean, tell me why you would sideline the Contact 645 when most people would be drooling to get their hands on it.
Well, I love it for certain things, and maybe because I've been indoors more, it's wintertime. I'm thinking when spring comes and I'm outside a little bit more, shooting families and older children. But yeah, it's not really a camera for indoors and fast-moving little ones.
Well, you're shooting with a Nikon F100?
F100.
Okay, yeah. So you haven't stepped up to an F5 or an F6?
No, I don't see a reason to.
To get the D3 experience on film?
I don't know what you get from it.
I guess fast autofocus, probably.
To be honest, my F100 autofocus isn't working, so I've been manually focusing that.
Since the F100 has a broken leg and the autofocus isn't working happy, it almost sounds like you're ready for a rangefinder. You're ready to make that leap to the next level.
Yeah, I think so. The music, I have a couple of shows coming up that I need to shoot, and so this is what I'm kind of toying with the idea. There's probably no use to get the focus fixed on the F100 because it will cost just as much to buy a new one. So do I decide to go get my Leica rangefinder?
The Bessa, the Voigtlander stuff is pretty cool, and you can get into one of those rigs a lot cheaper than a Leica. Even though, I mean, the Leica is sweet. Let's say you're going to get a Leica, what would you want? Do you want an MP? Do you want an M7?
I had an M7 before, and I loved it.
Really?
Yes. So I've kind of come full circle, which it tends to be how I do everything in life. I've come full circle, and I realized that it just felt right. One of the problems with the digital cameras, too, and the D3, I feel like I put it in front of my face, and I can't see. I see what I want to photograph. It's all there. I'm interacting with my subject or the children, and I put this humongous thing in front of my face, and all of a sudden I'm, like, blinded. And I feel the smaller, more agile cameras work best for me. And I get the best expressions and the more real expressions from my subjects. Even with the Holga. I love my little Holga or my Polaroid.
Interesting that I found with the rangefinder deal is the best that I have, I think, is the R3A. But the thing is, it has a 1-to-1 rangefinder. So I can look through the rangefinder with my right eye, but keep my left eye open, and I see the same. It's like stereo because there's no reduction with the rangefinder. And you do get a different, unique view, and you can see more. And you can see things going on more. And yes, I see some white frame lines, and you get used to it after a while, but pretty much, I think it's a little bit of training, like you said, after you ditch the DSLR stuff and the SLR and whatever. You start using the rangefinder dig. It's pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah, that's where I am. The contacts, I'll never get rid of it. It's a beautiful camera. The medium format and the color on there. I have some stuff from this fall that you can't beat it.
Do you find that now that you have the Contact 645 and that you've already had an M7 and sold it and you want to buy another one back, now you don't sell camera gear anymore?
Oh, my God, yes. That's what's funny is that he's a wedding film photographer, and I joked about that with him. You don't sell it unless you want to pay more to get it back. And they're not hard to come by. Exactly the setup I want. I've been looking for the last 3 weeks, and you don't just hop on there and pick yourself up something.
It's usually with that gear, it's harder to come up with the money than it is to find the camera.
Right, to find it for the right price, yeah.
Right, but there's deals to be had. Now, you're going to get another M7, or are you going to do an MP?
I think my main use for that, well, not my main use, but 50% of it would be for music. So I do find with the live music and stages, to have the aperture priority to use when you need it is a plus, because it's kind of tough to always be judging that with the changing lights.
Exactly. Now, with your other work, with shooting the childhood photography, do you find that you like to shoot everything just wide open? Doesn't matter. Everything's wide open.
Yeah, I do, and I wish I could change that. So I play wintertime as I think maybe a little bit of time for projects and trying something new, and that's something I've been working on, seeing how I can make my images pleasing to myself by not shooting wide open. Because, I don't know, sometimes if you're always doing something the same way, it gets a little stale, and you stop trying to work at it, and before you know, it's just the same old, same old. So I do always shoot wide open, but I don't think it's always necessary.
Right. Quite interesting. Now, you're souping your own black and white.
I am. I haven't found the perfect combo. Some stuff I send out to Richards.
Yeah.
But I enjoy doing my own when I have the time. So I usually use T-Max X-Tall and do it in my laundry room. And then I scan or I send out. I have a great local lab that will scan it at a great price. So
really?
As long as I don't cut them, yeah, they'll scan. So I'm very lucky there. I don't know if I'll find the same thing when I move, but that's been working well for me. Because, scanning's just might as well. That's not very fun with a little scanner. And Richards does a great job. It's nice. The FTP, everything goes back to me, and I just sit and wait and relax.
Now, how much are you doing post on your work? Are you doing anything completely analog? So the black and white, you're, of course, scanning that and then sending that out that way? Have you started making your own prints yet, or is it all this hybrid right at this point?
It's hybrid, yep. Although I've had Richards, and I've also used Film Moving Pictures.
Robert Cavalli. Yep.
Yes, great work. Actually, a funny story enough, I have a client that has twins, and this is why I had to just dump my digital gear. First session I did digital, second session I did film, or vice versa, and I shot some in digital, some in film. The 2 images, or the 3 images, they wanted large for their dining room, like 3 in a row, nice big, 11 by 14s. One was digital and the other 2 are film. I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, I can tell the difference. They probably never would have. So I sent them to Robert, the digital file, and he made a negative and then printed it in the darkroom for me. So that's my problem, too, is that was probably a little more work than I had to, but I couldn't let it go with having 2 digital prints next to a fiber, or vice versa. So there's 3 fiber prints in their dining room. Looks beautiful. It was just silly to shoot some in film and some in digital.
So let's talk about influences from other photographers, current, past, and different, or maybe not even a photographer in general. Tell me about the influences that you have taken in and are currently enjoying from past and present people doing work that you're sort of digging.
Well, I guess the black and white film photographer, Shel Jacobs. You all know her. If you're a children's photographer, I had my first workshop with her.
So tell me about her workshop. Cheryl's going to come on the program here in a couple weeks. Tell me about what your thoughts are on what she's doing.
Oh, she was great. She's very different. I think I enjoyed her workshop because it was more about the photography and not about technical stuff. It was more about the creative side and finding what you do well and going with it versus trying to be the photographer for everyone or being a photographer or a style that you don't really enjoy. And just searching within a little bit to try and figure out what it is that you enjoy and why you're doing it in the first place. So she's more of a soul searching. I think now she may have gotten a bit more into lighting and technical aspects, but I don't think you go to a Shel Jacobs workshop to learn technical or marketing. But that could have changed. I'm not sure about that. So her workshop is with me. I think I did a Portland workshop. It was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. And literally every time I pick up my camera, there's some thought about what I had learned in her workshop that comes to me. So she's a great one. And Jose Vila for the film and the color, he was shooting the color that I saw from his work was what I wanted when I was shooting digital. And I was so frustrated because I was shooting digital and I do love color, and I just couldn't get the color I wanted. And voila, shoot the film.
So tell me your thoughts here on your shooting and souping traditional black and white yourself. But then again, you could also shoot your color with, I think you're using, 400H Fuji?
Yes, an 800.
800Z. Okay, so with the stuff overexposed and the right lighting conditions, you can make some really pastel, beautiful work. Why would you shoot traditional black and white when you can just take your color scans and make them black and white?
There's a difference, I think. Although I have to say, I have done that for a few. I've taken a color and made it black and white, and was very impressed. But I don't know.
Or is it that you want complete control over the process, and if you shoot black and white, you can soup this in the kitchen or the bathroom, and it doesn't really matter? I mean, really, as long as you have a changing bag and you're pretty nimble in the dark with your hands, you can do it wherever you want.
Well, and too, when I first went back to film, I was having problems saying, okay, am I metering something wrong? Or is the lab doing something different? They tell me they use this developer one time and then a different the next time, and was it really 6.5 minutes or 12 minutes? So I just didn't like not knowing.
It's hard to trust them when you film, huh?
Yeah.
It's hard to trust them.
Yeah, so now I'm there, I've got my timer, I've got my temperature, and I've got my mixed chemicals and developer. I don't trust our water, so I use just spring water that I get from the store. If it's not correctly done, if the negative's bad, then it was me.
It's something that you have to trust to people or yourself, because when you're doing work for clients and you've set up these shots and you just know, when you're a photographer, you know, I nailed that, man. This is going to be killer. I can't wait to get back my film. And if you destroy your own film, then it's your own fault. But when you send it off and it gets nuked, it's a bummer.
That's true. Or it's lost. And, oh, yeah, believe me, I think the first time I had shot a roll, and I could not wait. I was so excited. It was like one of the first times with the M7 that I had, and I just couldn't wait. And I opened up the roll after shooting it all, and I realized it wouldn't rewind. I was like, what? This is weird. I opened it up, and it had never latched on, so it...
Right, you shot a whole roll where there was nobody home.
Yeah, nothing was exposed. I thought I shot 36 great negatives, and there was nothing there. That film didn't even get pulled. So yeah, I've definitely made my own errors. But yeah, like you said, I like just having myself to blame. So it's hard enough to get children to be in the right place that you would like them to be and you to get it right.
So do you think that you will find yourself doing more black and white? Or do you think that you're looking to get a Jobo and you're going to start cooking color at home?
No, I don't know. To be honest, I would like to start printing. I'm hoping once we move, I'm going to get set up. It's just been difficult here where we are. The co-op I was using closed down, so I don't have that anymore, and we don't have a place to do it at home. What I would love to do is start developing, which I do, and then printing my own black and whites. Color, I don't know. I need to stick with one thing at a time, and I feel like I still have a lot that I can learn and really tackle, especially if I want to start printing. For me to start tackling color, although they say if you have everything, it's really not that.
It's a matter of tempering your sauce till it's all the same temperature. You just need to be a little bit more on time with everything, but it's not difficult, no.
So maybe I will. It is nice having it. And that's why with digital, I'd had a hard time shooting an image and then sending it out to the lab. And I can never feel it and see it and hold it. It's on a disc somewhere, and I like negatives. I like having it, holding it up, looking at it, and knowing it's there. And if for some reason the negatives get damaged or they're scratched or they're lost, it's my own fault. It's not because the disc or the card decides it was in its last legs. I don't know, it's just different.
Let's talk about what you typically offer when people have you do their childhood work. So do you offer an album thing? Do you have sitting fees? I mean, how does it work when you're taking pictures of little kids running around? It's got to be sort of a challenge at some time.
Well, I have in the past always offered my session fee and then prints are additional. And it's worked out pretty well, except that I feel like my style has changed a little bit more to want to do a book or an album for clients. Only because I'm not really sitting them down to get to that one perfect image. And that kind of comes full circle to show what you want to sell, because maybe I pulled a lot of that stuff off my website where it's okay, everyone's sitting down and looking at the camera. So if you want a family portrait like that, then don't hire me. I'll recommend someone else to do that. I would rather have more of a story, something that all comes together. And when you hire me, you're going to get those little bits and pieces that you might have overlooked or you didn't really notice.
So how does that work to when they're like, okay, I want you to document my little girl today? Do you come over and say you have an hour, or do you just hang out all day and you just run around with them and get crazy, and then you can actually watch the personality develop?
Well, when I first started out, I would stay for a long time. But I started realizing that my first 15 minutes and my last 15 minutes is when I got the best photographs. So I don't tell them, I don't give them a time, really, but I come in and I try and organize it in my head quite a bit from the start. I'll walk around, ask the moms, okay, show me your room, where do you like to play, what's your favorite toy? Oh, if it's a little girl, do you have a favorite little outfit or a hat? Just to get them interested in me. Mom will go sit down, read her newspaper, and the kids will show me around and we'll laugh, and in about 15 minutes or so, I'll get my camera out and show it to them, and by then I'll have figured what film do I want to use at first. Are we going to shoot inside or outside, or what have you, and like I said, I've gotten better. In the years I've done this just to think, all right, let's get the three siblings together first. We'll work on that, because the baby is always going to not last as long as the others. And we'll go ahead and do that, and then I work with each of them a little bit separately. Try and get the parents in. Usually they'll have a snack, and I'll try and capture some of that if there's nice light at a kitchen table. I have some great shots of families all sitting there, mom reading the paper, and have the two siblings having their little snack and just laughing in a diaper. Sometimes I get to homes, and the parents literally have about 50 outfits laid out in the living room and just panicked about what's the perfect thing for them to wear. And sometimes if I can tell by the parent that it's okay for me to say this, I'll turn to the child and I say, what do you want to wear? And I let them pick, and then sometimes I need to coax them into something a little bit different. But for the most part, I like to give them control. Let them pick so they feel like I'm not the one coming in saying, this is what you need to do and need to wear, and this is how you need to act. So right off the bat, I like to gain a little trust and let them feel like they have some control, and that seems to work.
Do you find that you get better shots when you're on the same level as a little kid? So your legs and knees hurt? I mean, are you crawling around on the ground? Tell me about what you have to go through to get some of these shots, because I think that it's almost like doing pet portraiture, that you need to get down on the same level or you're just looking down on something. I mean, yeah, it might be cool sometimes, but really I think you need to sort of get on their level.
Right, and that's so funny. I hear a lot of other photographers, especially wedding photographers, like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine doing kids. I'd be so exhausted. I'm thinking, okay, what does this say about me? The fact that I would feel much more comfortable to hang out sitting on the floor with a child, photographing them, than standing there when the three adults or two adults or a group of adults are looking at me saying, what do we do? How should we look? Should we smile?
Well, they're probably the regular adults that don't want to get down on the ground are probably out of shape, overweight, and are too lazy anyway to go roll around on the floor.
Right. Well, besides having my own two children right now, I grew up with my mom was a preschool teacher, and I had only 22 preschoolers in my home until I left for college. So she had a very large preschool that was attached to our house. And I've coached skiing for little children, I've taught swimming, so I've spent a lot of time with children before. And I feel like they're pretty smart, and they just want you to listen to them, I think, and play with them. And that's not hard. I mean, how hard is that? Come in for a photo shoot and get to play make-believe or Cowboys and Indians or whatever.
Why not? I mean, that's fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you talk to them as their equal and don't talk down to them and sort of have an interest in what they're doing, they're going to open up and you're going to have fun. It's going to be cool.
Sure. And you don't know how many children, it's so funny. I pull my film, and I'll let them sit there, and I'll show them how I put my film and stuff and load it. And it's like, what is that paper? What are you doing with that? Or that, can I see the picture? Can I see it? Can I see it? But yeah, they're funny because they don't know film is anymore. So it's kind of fun for them. And then if I have a Polaroid along with me, of course, they love that. So lots of times, little instant, I have also the mini, and I can shoot one or two of those off for them and leave that with them, and they love it.
Well, I mean, really, let's say you're hanging out with a little kid and you take their picture with a cool outfit, or like you said, the kid packing the two sidearms and playing Cowboys and Indians, and you give them a little Instax mini. That's like a crazy cool gift you just gave them.
Yeah.
And they probably really dig it.
Yep, and it's fun, too. I even like to do that with my children's friends. You know, they come over, and we always have fun. The kids are so cool. They just love it. You send them home with a picture of them with their buddy at the play date, hanging out, and they're so easy to please.
Well, I mean, think about that, though, truly, as you shoot an Instax mini or two and give it away to one of your kids' friends, the parents are going to see, they're going to be like, I'm going to hire her to take some pictures.
Right.
Great marketing, right?
Got to get, like, my website on the back of that, right?
Yeah, you should have a little stamp made for the little bottom of the Instax mini where the goo packet is, and just put a little stamp on there.
Right, there we go. That's an idea.
Or at least sign them so you have a piece of original art, because you do have a piece of original art when you give them a one-off.
That's true. Well, yeah, today in the snow, it's funny, and yesterday, too, I have some of that 664. I have an old Polaroid. I got it on eBay for like $15. I'm going to probably scan them tomorrow. I mean, they're great, and it's just looking at the expression of these kids' faces on these. I don't know why. Maybe they smile better if they know they're going to see the picture right after or something. It's just, yeah, I love them. But sometimes I'll take a Polaroid, or I'll have a black and white, and I'll be so excited about it. I'll show it to some people who are so used to digital and color popped and all this stuff. And I'm like, huh? They look at me as if I've got three eyes. I'm like, this is so cool. Don't you love it? But like I said, you do what feels right and what you love. I just like that this is an image or a photograph that has never been altered or changed. It's exactly how it was. And that, to me, I think with film is the same. It's the negative. It's exactly how it happened.
It is cool, but I think even more so, instant film. I mean, I'm all over with Fujipack film. FP100, C&B, FP3000. I really love FP3000. And just shooting pack film because, man, that's it. When you peel, that's it. You have a print, you have an original photograph. Yes, you can scan it and tweak stuff and blah, blah, blah. But really, it's cool just to create this art, and that's what it is.
Right.
It's fun.
I agree.
Instant photography is really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to do more with that.
The only problem being is if you're shooting 600 Polaroid type film, then you're going to be paying quite a premium over with Doc Florian and the guys over at Pola Premium. It costs a lot, but you have unique stuff. I mean, you're shooting expired 600. Sometimes you get cool stuff. You don't know what you're going to get. You know, it's pretty much like, well, here goes. Almost like a cross-process gig.
Sure. No, the SX70, I have a bunch of the Artistic Z.
Yeah.
And I see some of Jose's stuff. I'm like, my light must be different here in Maryland than it is out there on the West Coast. Or maybe I've got some bad packs. It's different.
Well, with your Artistic Z and you're using an SX70, are you putting a two-stop neutral density filter in the film pack? Or are you modifying the sensor on the camera to accept later film?
So this one hasn't been modified. So I do have a bunch of the 600, so I'm thinking about going that route.
Well, I think if you shoot the 600, then you're going to get the overexposed. You'll get some of the Jose look from the 600 film in the non-modified SX70. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? Well, that's the fun of it.
So let's chat about the band stuff. What got you into wanting to take photography in dingy, stinky nightclubs that smell like old beer and taking pictures in low light?
That's a good question. I think when this started.
When did you want to start shooting gigs, band, late night adult entertainment?
Well, I think it goes back to the real and gritty, and this is what it is. I'm not very interested in the flash, super sharp, spot-on color concert work that I see a lot of in music work. I'm a little more about the grainy, super saturated, just a little bit off film stuff, or digital major look film. But I have always loved Annie Leibowitz's original music work and the stuff she did before. So we have a great radio station here. One day I told my husband I'm going to go photograph some musicians. So I knocked on their door and told them what I wanted to do. It's just a great trade. I get a lot of backstage passes. which lots of times is calling up the bands or the venues, so that's a little bit more work. But I also shoot for the radio station whenever they have these private artist showcases, and they do some interviews, and gosh, I have gotten a lot. Been Gomez, The Wigs, Patrol, Travis, Pete Yorn, Dave Matthews, R.E.M., Johnny Marr. Gotten a lot, and I love it. It's different. I like being up there, elbows on the stage, like you said, elbow in my way. And sometimes the small nightclubs or the small music clubs I enjoy more than the large venues.
What's your favorite band? What kind of music do you like? I mean, because with the time that you grew up and your age, I mean, are you like all over the Dead Kennedys and wanting to shoot some crazy stuff at the Troubadour? Or, I mean, what would you want to do?
You know, I like Radiohead, I don't know if you know Spoon, Dead Weather. I'm a big fan of Jack White, White Stripes, Raconteurs. But then the older, R.E.M., I hate to say it, but Mike Stipe's getting old like us. Oh my gosh, if the Clash was still around, I'd be all over that.
Yeah?
And Penny Smith, if you know any of her work, she's famous for the Clash.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, let's slide back in time here. I mean, what band would you really want to go shoot that maybe had an early attraction for you? Maybe The Cure. I mean, what were you into when you were in high school?
Ramones and the Clash. It's funny, in high school I wasn't as big into seeing music and listening. I actually took the violin for 13 years, I guess, so I was a little more classical. That's where I focused. And now I pick up my violin because I was trying to teach my daughter because we got her one for Christmas. I think music, I wish I was more musically talented or stayed that way. I did well when I played the violin. We just saw It Might Get Loud, if you've seen that documentary with Jimmy Page, Jack White, and The Edge.
Yep.
And just a lot of the stuff that they talk about, it's very similar to me when I photograph. I think someone at one point said, we're all storytellers, and we come together, and this is what we do, we tell our story. I feel that's so similar to what I do, although I'm not making music. I'm making something that hopefully will move someone in some way, or at least express what I'm seeing, or even like hearing. I hear music, and lots of times I put images together with the music I hear, and that's what I want to shoot. One is as important to me as the other, and I think that's why I enjoy shooting the band. So I would love to do a lot more interviews and more personal stuff with the musicians. I just need to work on that connection.
So, Heather, what do you look forward to here in your photography? You guys are moving back to Park City, so I think that's going to be very cool, at least for some of your nightclub and musical work. But what do you look forward to here moving forward with your photography to keep doing something new, something different, just to keep things mixed up?
Well, I'm excited about the change in the landscape and photographing families and my subjects and children, as well as more adults, and using that landscape to be inspired a bit more. I always felt like the mountains and even the desert, that definitely I feel like I connect well to it. So hopefully the change in landscape will inspire me. I'm getting a little bit tired of the Chesapeake, although it's gorgeous. And I think moving more towards just the documenting instead of portraits, and getting into the darkroom and learning to print well enough that I feel that I can do it as well as I would like to. So black and white, a rangefinder, and more instant film. And just finding clients that understand what I do and are looking for that book of images or that album and one or two wonderful wall prints to showcase what they liked, or which image they find they're most connected to.
Now, with moving to Park City from where you're at in Maryland now, do you find that you're going to have to start over on your marketing? You're going to have a disconnect now with your current clients? Do you find that you get a lot of repeat work now, or the move is not that big a deal and you're not worried about it?
Actually, it's huge. I think 85% of my stuff is repeat and referrals.
Well, kids are always growing, so it's a great genre to shoot because they at least want to get it done once a year, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I had a client about 2 weeks ago, and she laughed, and she said, I can't help it. I'm adding up in my head how old you will be when my children get married because I want you to shoot their wedding too. Like, yeah, good work. I might be moving a little slow, but you never know. But yeah, I have a ton of repeat clients. I have clients in New York City, and I have a couple clients already for out west. I have an Aspen shoot that I'm going to do this summer, and Sun Valley. So fortunately, having been able to travel quite a bit, I'll take advantage of that. I'll be getting back here in September or October around there to do a number of client shoots, their regular fall session. So that's important to me. My clients have been wonderful and just so nice walking into their home, and I've been photographing their family for 3-4 years. And there's no questions. They know what I do, and I know what they are looking for, and the children know me, and it's great. That I'll miss, because there's a lot of clients that I probably won't be able to keep. Just can't spend all my time back here. But finding new clients out there, anyone has any suggestions how to market when you move, that's great. So I haven't delved too much into that, so that will definitely be interesting. I might actually have to do my first paid advertisement, which I have not put any money into marketing.
Well, I really think that you have such a diverse catalog of so much stuff that you've already shot before that you could probably put some press sample books together and go around to probably a lot of places there in Park City and pick up some interest, I'm sure. Unless there's a big array of childhood photographers in Park City, now we're going to go to war.
The first 2 years, you always look and you say, what are they doing? What's their work look like? But I think it's the point it finally clicks and you realize it's not about what they're doing compared to what I'm doing. It's about what I'm doing and what I'm giving to my own clients and what I'm offering. And how is that different, and why will that client want to hire me and not someone else? To me, if it comes down to cost or what my pricing is, then it's probably not the client for me, only because you've got to have that connection and you've got to be okay. Or hopefully in a position where you can realize that client won't work for you and you won't work for them. And everyone will be happier, and I'm happy to recommend clients to other photographers if I know it's a better fit.
Nice to know your limitations and doing stuff that you don't want to do. I don't want to do that. Go to someone else. Here, go to my buddy. She'll take care of you. He'll take care of you, whatever. And just be able to not bite off everything you can chew. That's cool.
Because, you regret it eventually, I think.
It could come back and bite you. You never know.
Right. At least if you do it, don't put it on your website. Don't advertise it if you don't want to do any more of it.
Well, the problem being is with the website is you could put on your website, you could take it out, but you don't know that the Internet Archive didn't snap your website, and now it's there forever, and you can't take it away.
You probably know more about that.
It's always there, man. You can run, but you can't hide.
That's what I'm afraid, this whole Facebook and these blogs and everything. Google, they've got us.
No, it's there forever, really. I mean, think about it. When you put stuff up on Facebook, people really need to think. When I put this up here, this will probably be here forever. Forever. As you well know, you see a lot of people that will flame up on stuff.
Right.
They'll flame up because Kodak stopped making Triac in 220, and they're freaked out because they can't buy any 220 film anymore. It's like, well, hey, man, move on, brother. But people freak out, and they don't think about what they do. Said the time when you put a post online or you send an email, if it's something that you're so passionate about, it's one of those things where he's like, okay, well, I'll come back to that in a half hour and let's see what I think.
Oh, yes, especially with clients. Every once in a while you get that where you're ready to fire off an email and you got to put it away. And I've been very lucky. They are few and far in between. But for business and person, it's too easy these days for people to just say anything and get it out there. It's just everything's instant.
We only want our instant reactions to be coming out of an end of a camera with some cool instant film.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited for what we're going to see with all that. You said you are using which camera now for your instant?
My instant, let's see, I'm using, So I have a large collection now of pack film cameras. So all kinds of different Color Pack 2, Color Pack 4, all these instant plastic cameras that are sort of cool.
Right.
But my main gig that I'm using for pack film is I'm using a Mckay Universal.
Oh, okay, yes.
The big rangefinder, boxy, monster, huge camera. And my favorite lens is the 100 millimeter f2.8. So I can shoot 2.8 and 3.25 by 4.25. So I have crazy shallow depth of field. That's very cool.
See, that's nice. And I do love that, which is a try. And that's what I'm afraid with the rangefinder. If shutter speeds only go to 1,000, I have to, or I guess I could just get the filter.
I find the same because when I shoot 35, I'm shooting all Canon. So I shoot 50-1.2, 85-1.2. And sometimes you need a 4-stop neutral density so I can still shoot wide open in the bright sun. Otherwise, you got to step it down. And I think looking at your work, and when you build up a body of work that's got very shallow depth of field, and then you have to throw in something that's shot at 5.6 or f8, it doesn't flow.
It doesn't. Julie Blackman, although she's all digital, but I love her work.
Yeah.
Just so many styles out there, and her stuff, it blows me away. I love it. But you think a lot of it post-processed and all. But in that sense, I like not having that shallow depth of field. It's kind of neat, but it's not my style, but I love it.
No, it is cool. And a lot of people, everything they shoot stopped all the way down. F-64 people, and it's like, okay, well, that's not how the human eye sees.
And that's what I tell people. If you look around and everything's not crystal clear to you.
I'm lucky if anything's clear. So maybe that's why the Holga's so cool.
Yeah, oh, that's me too. Yeah, I'm pretty much blind. So I'm trying to figure out if I need LASIK or I'm just going to keep going with my contacts. But I'm a little worried to take that chance.
I heard a lot of photographers that have done that and were very happy that they did it. I guess if you go to someone reputable, you're pretty much not going to be completely hosed, so.
Right. Well, sometimes I look out the kitchen window on a foggy morning without my contacts in, and I see, like, a perfect image. Like, oh, if I could just get that on film, that's great. So I just need smear a little Vaseline on my lens, and I'll get that. But it's funny what you see and what we're used to seeing and what doesn't look right on film, but it'd be pretty cool. So it's kind of trippy sometimes to walk around without my contacts in.
So true. So tell me, where do we look at your blog? You have a great blog with a lot of years worth of posting on it. You have a very cool website. Where can people go look at your photography and see what you're up to? Get some inspiration and just enjoy what you're doing.
Well, my website is heathermckaybose.com. So just www.heathermckaybose.com. And then I have a blog which is linked to that. It's a blog spot. So I believe it's heathermckaybose.blogspot.com. But it's linked from my website. So pretty straightforward there. Always hard to keep up. I always have great things I want to write about, and then I sit down and I don't write. But I try and keep up on adding photographs and something new every once in a while. My website showcases some work I've done with some orphans, which I really enjoyed doing. So that's one. And then underwater. Summer I'm going to get back underwater and shoot, so you can see some of my film underwater work with that.
That's very cool. Well, Heather, I really appreciate you joining us today. Great to have a chance to finally sit down and chat with you. Just enjoying your work, and this is great stuff, and we look forward to more cool things and definitely chatting here in the future to talk about your move back to Park City and all these other cool things that you're up to.
Yes, thank you so much, Scott. It was great to be a part of this. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Well, there you go. Heather Mckay Bowes. Great work, beautiful photography, great use of film, instant photography, stunning example of what you can do with traditional analog photography. Beautiful work. Definitely check out our website. The Inside Analog Photography radio program has been brought to you by Fujifilm, making life more colorful over at www.fujifilmusa.com. Our friends at Richard Photolab at richardphotolab.com. DR5 over at www.dr5.com. Iger Studios over at igerstudios.com. Upstrap at upstrap-pro.com. And of course, our media partners, APUG, the Analog Photography User Group over at www.apug.org. Our photography philanthropy partners, George Eastman House International Museum of Photography and Film over at www.geh.org. I've been your host, Scott Shepard, here on Inside Analog Photography Radio. We'll be back next week with more great analog photography.